Right, the president very much in his comfort zone today, as he has been much of the week, talking up infrastructure and a plan that earlier in the week was announced to be about $1 trillion over 10 years, $200 billion upfront tax money, and a lot of that, the rest, leveraged off of with private initiatives. Congressman Robert Pittenger is a Republican on the House Financial Services Committee, joins us now. Congressman, thank you for coming.
Good, Neil. Good to be with you.
Let me ask you a little bit about the funding part of that, if you don't mind, sir, and that is this idea of leveraging off of an investment, a taxpayer-funded initiative, and then private enterprise kicking in. It works for a lot of companies that do this sort of thing. Uncle Sam, sometimes not so much. How will this work, or what do we know?
Well, we've had public-private partnerships in the past. This is not new. I think that we'll be able to make a...
Well, see, I think of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and they're not stellar examples, you know, but
no, sir, not at all. In fact, I would like to take them out of the financial system. We passed the financial reform bill yesterday, the Choice Act, very critical for our country.
Are they part of that, by the way, those
moving.
Institutions, are they part of that fix that you're doing?
No.
No, okay.
No, well, we wish that we could totally reform them. We'd like to, frankly, remove them. We want to bring the private market back in to this. But what we did yesterday in reforming Dodd-Frank was removing the regulatory burden on small banks, small financial institutions that have really been encumbered. You know, North Carolina, Neil, we've lost 50% of our banks since 2010.
Is that right?
And just in the last, yes, sir, just in the last 6 weeks, we've lost 3 more banks to consolidation. And this is all because of compliance cost. This is all because of regulation. They're having to comply with the same standards of the major international banks. So I serve on the Financial Services Committee, and we passed that bill yesterday, a major factor in terms of restoring our economic vitality, overshadowed, of course, by what happened yesterday. But what will take place out of this bill is going to be very critical. Really, the regulatory burden in our country and reducing the tax burden are the key. Much like Ronald Reagan, and I was there 80 to 84, when he lifted and reduced the tax burden, the regulatory burden, the economy took off. And I think you're going to see the same reforms, the same effect for what we accomplished in this Congress.
You know, the president, when he wasn't talking about banks here, but he was talking about infrastructure and all the paperwork that goes into getting a project going, and he had these large binders and all. He did something similar during the campaign, and there is a great deal of paperwork to that. Now, those who are big fans of such regulations say they keep people safe, they keep the environment in check, and you always wonder what's the happy medium here. But the worry seems to be that this administration could go the other extreme, and these guys run roughshod. How do you temper that?
Well, there is a balance. But I think, for example, I was on a community bank board, and we knew who was credit worthy. We didn't need the federal government telling us who was worthy of allowing credit to be extended or who shouldn't be. We knew who was credit worthy. And when we sold our bank, when we chartered it, I was there from the time we chartered to the time we sold it, we had less than 1% loans that were defaulted. So banks know, they know who is credit worthy. In like manner, you will see that regulations need to be in place, but they need to be prudent and they need to be effective. They can have an adverse effect in terms of economic growth by having too much undue regulation, and you've seen that. You've seen a.
Do you ever worry we're going to look at another financial crisis, whatever revamp you want to do on regulations, notwithstanding that I think it was one Wall Streeter I talked to, sir, said we're due for one. What do you think?
Well, I think it would come, as the last one did, Neil, from the GSEs, from the government-sponsored enterprises, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. They're the ones who created the environment, lower interest rates.
But they're not part of this effort on the Hill that you guys are pushing, right?
Well, they have been because of the executive branch commitments in previous years.
No, I understand. They account for a lot of mortgages. It's very easy to sort of talk about trying to cut them off, but they're big. There's a lot of mortgages there.
Well, we don't need easy credit.
Yeah.
We don't need people being able to come with low credit scores and zero down payments. Those have to be stopped. And then banks will loan money to people who really are credit worthy.
Yeah, that was the whole problem. All of a sudden, we took getting a mortgage and
Sure,
seeing it
Wall
as
Street,
a birthright and not as a goal.
But I do want you to know on our bill, we have in the Choice Act the most egregious fines ever placed on Wall Street for fraud, and this is not a
it's a two-way
sweet,
street.
happy
You're right.
kiss that Senator Warren said. To the contrary, Wall Street did not accept our bill. They didn't want it. This is a bill for Main Street.
All right. We'll watch it very, very closely because obviously the fix went way extreme the other way. Congressman, thank you. Have a good weekend.